No, you can't do that.
This is Tall Can Audio.
Away we go, a brand new edition of the Tall Can Audio podcast, coming to you from the TCA studio in an increasingly irritating location. Matt Robinson with you today, joined by a guy who always makes time for us and almost always points out as he's coming in here that he has to, ward off the hordes, the fans outside this studio space to get here and get in the building. But construction outside the building, frankly, construction outside the door that you and I are recording behind right now, Bunda, the people are scarce these days.
Yeah, and you know what? I got a couple dirty looks from the construction workers. I'm trying to pull in, and they're like, nobody comes to this building. Like, get out of here, pal. And I'm like, all right, fine. But no, they let me in, thankfully. I knew the password, which was beer.
Beer. That is always the password. That'll get it done. Yeah, no, we've been sort of talking on the show here for a little while about, the fact that the studio has been in shambles as there's been work being done on my actual home just outside the door here. But this week, as you may, good listener, be forced to hear as we go, there's now work being done on the street outside the studio. There's backup alarms there. You can only soundproof so much. So this is the world I'm living in right now. Glad Bunda is here to help soften the blow, or maybe worsen the blow. We'll see. I think
the Tall Can Audio fans, they weren't really hanging around. I think the construction
we drove them off.
Yeah, too noisy, too loud. They are, or you know what? We're doing this midday. Maybe they're taking their midday naps.
There you go.
I'm not sure.
There you go. All right.
You know what? Nothing wrong with a midday nap.
No. We are on social media at Tall Can Audio. Hope you'll follow along there. Bunda is on social at Steve Bunda 91. And make sure you are subscribed to the podcast, wherever you're hearing us right now. Bunda, appreciate you coming in, as always, my man. We're going to have a pint. We're both going with Bridge Masters, where I stopped probably 2.5 weeks ago now, 3 weeks ago, coming back from when I was on hiatus from the first round of construction happening outside the studio door. Stopped in Perth. Often end up stopping in Perth at Perth Brewery, because it's right there on the highway. It's kind of tied to that sweet Wendy's parking lot. That's a good stop, right? You guys should have a classic double and a couple of beers.
Come on, spicy chicken sandwich. You got to go with the chicken. Come on, man.
We took the tour through Perth down to Bridge Masters this time. You are, I believe, having the Third Charm IPA. Is that right?
That's right. The Third's a Charm IPA. It's a nice 5.7 IPAs and pretty cool can. And now I got to ask you, as I'm cracking this bad boy open, where is Bridge Masters? Because I believe there's a couple different. There's a brewery there that I used to like, that Weatherhead. Then changed to another brewery, and I cannot remember the name of it.
There was a middle guy, between Weatherhead. These are all the same place.
Okay, so it's the same spot right beside the bridge with a cool patio.
That's right.
All right.
And so it was Weatherhead, you're right. And I forget also what the middle guy was.
Laketown? Does that make sense?
That sounds right. Yeah, that sounds familiar.
I think so. I might be wrong.
Yeah.
But I think it was like
And the fact that neither of us can remember for sure the name of it is probably why they didn't make it. So
Weatherhead was awesome. Like, I loved
Weatherhead
it.
was great.
Yeah.
They made really nice stuff.
They had the best stout I think I've ever had, which was like a score
heady talk.
Score toffee kind of like stout they had. And I remember going on a summer hot day and I was like, I'm gonna crush one of these stouts. And I was like, give me 2 or 3 more. I wanted almost a flight of them ready to go. They were good.
Yeah.
A lot of love to.
So it's right there at the end of the bridge, and hence the name here, Bridge Masters. From back in the days when you used to supervise a bridge, whether it be a swing bridge or a who's crossing the bridge. This is, I think, the Bridge Masters house is what this brewery is supposed to represent.
So like a troll.
Yeah,
trolls hanging.
I don't know that
they
live under the bridge. I've been trolled quite a bit here over the last few days. We'll get into a lot of that here as we go. But I had tried that one. The Third is a Charm.
Very tasty. I like that. Very smooth too.
This is
lots of flavor.
The other one I grabbed coming out of there was their cream ale, their steamer cream ale, 5.2%. I'll be honest before I crack into this, because I don't want it to color anyone's opinion of the brewery. I'm sort of hit and miss on cream ales.
Sure.
Sometimes it can be maybe, I don't know if sweet is the right term, but I find a little too much of that, which is odd, because when we go into stouts and porters, I'm like, let's hit it on a chocolate or a really decadent stout or whatever. I don't always love it in a cream ale. So I'm not going to allow that to color the good people at Bridge Masters. I'm just putting that disclaimer on it now, but I'm looking forward to trying this, man. As I crack into it, and before we get to a lot of the stuff we've got to get to here, we are recording the week after May Long. I know you're a cottage guy, much like myself. Did you get away? Have you got the place opened up, ready to rock for the summer season?
Yeah, thankfully our cottage is kind of open all year round. We just get rid of the water throughout most of the winter time, and then so it's mainly a kind of a cabin in the winter time for some snowmobiling, get up there. But it is now fully functioning, ready to go for the summer.
Nice.
If only the weather was back. And now we were talking last week, I think it was, and you were asking if I was going to brave it with the weather, and I did. I think I got about 45 minutes worth of fishing in. That's not ideal. Like, not for May Long weekend. I need to be able to get a lot of fishing in.
Right.
I want to average like 6 hours on the lake over 3 or 4 days. So the fact that it was only about an hour, a little disappointing, but still, Matt, I think I tell you every single time, anytime at the lake,
lake time is good time.
It's very good time. That's what I'm talking about. So
I did not venture away. And this
you did
is
not. You wanted to stay and enjoy the construction?
This is it. I wanted to stay. I wanted to be close to home.
Great view.
I wanted to be in a safe place when the Leafs did what they were inevitably always going to do. I looked at the weather.
I get it. See, you wanted to break stuff and hide it with the construction in a house.
It's my fault. They're having to repave the road in front. I was just going crazy on late night, Sunday night.
Stuff out the door.
Exactly. I looked at the weather, and as you and I have talked about before, and we just mentioned here a minute ago, I was away down there for a little while during the first round of my involuntary home reno, and there will be a second round of that I will also have to vacate here for. So when I looked at the weather, it was just like, this isn't the time. I'll be going back in a week or two. So, but yeah, normally May Long is like, you can't stop me. Like, people go running for the first sign of spring, the first sign of summer. You hit the cottage as soon as you can, man.
Well, what's crazy is like, I'm in the middle of trying to build a new dock at my cottage right now with my cousin, and I went up on the Monday last week. And it was the day where it was like 25 and like sunny. It was so hot, and the black flies and the mosquitoes, they ate me alive, Matt. And this is on the Monday before the long weekend. So I'm coming back from my cottage in the evening, getting ready to go to work the next day, and I'm like itching my legs crazy. And I'm thinking, I look down, and it's like, my legs are covered in bug bites because the black flies were just right there. But because it was such a nice day, I think Monday, Tuesday, whatever it was. So then Friday came around, I cut the grass. The bugs weren't so bad. Black flies a little bit out there. Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, when it's windy and cold and rainy and miserable, not a bug in the sky,
Hold
dude.
the bugs down,
it was perfect.
man.
So I got my bug bites in a few days before the long weekend, because that's usually the May 2-4 weekend of you get the black flies.
You just get shooed, man.
Yeah, not ideal.
No, I'm with you on that. Like, I won't be upset if I've missed the majority of black fly season. We used to have a cottage up near Bancroft. Now we're obviously, as the good listener knows, closer to Bob Cage. And they're not as bad as they used to be up in the woods there near Bancroft. But yeah, there are some weekends where they just pick you up and carry you away. Like, it's brutal. So, you're right, though. The cold weather and the rain, that keeps them at bay a little bit. And so it's not exactly what you're looking for out of a long weekend.
It kept me at bay, too. So that was the problem. Like, I was stuck inside. I think I played Nintendo 64, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, more than I really did any fishing. And I don't like that. I like Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Tony Hawk. Yeah.
Oh, I do. But I don't have like 6 hours
of it.
It's
not cottage time. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I was YouTubing cheats just to make sure I can get through levels, because I can't remember half the stuff. And I was like, come on, I've been playing this for 5 hours. I need this.
I've still got my N64, and the TV that I have in my living room actually no longer has the RCA hookups, right? You have to get the little adapter that go between. But I've got WWF No Mercy,
best wrestling game ever made, man.
And WCW Revenge. I've got and then the Ken Griffey baseball, the Slugfest, I think it's called. And then obviously Mario Kart 64, which is my favorite Mario Kart game
DK
ever.
all the way.
This is it, man. So I still got it. I still held on. Every now and then, like, God love her, my mom will come up and she'll want to do some spring cleaning around my condo for me and stuff like that. Or she's like, You've had this since like 1998. Is it time to throw it away? Do not touch it. Do not throw that away.
You're out.
This is it.
I'm calling security. Get out of here.
Well, it's funny, man. You mentioned, or I mentioned there, the No Mercy for N64, the old school wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
This is how we bridge generations, I guess. I got a nephew who's turning 7 next week. And he, he's into a bunch of things that he's only sort of understanding. Like, for whatever reason, he just loves Ronaldo, right? Like, he's got Ronaldo pajamas and Ronaldo.
Soccer player?
Yeah.
Okay.
But like, kid, not a chance. That kid's ever sitting down to watch 90 minutes of 1-0 soccer, right? But he can find on YouTube Ronaldo highlights and things like that. So he's going to play soccer this year and all this stuff. But one of the other guys that he's found on YouTube and likes is John Cena. And now he's talking my language, right? Like old school wrestling stuff.
Okay.
And John Cena's doing the farewell tour. So I'm looking around, man. And I have, as a kid, there were these things called, and they were stuffed, like a stuffed animal. They were called wrestling buddies.
Okay.
So I had the Ultimate Warrior, and the stuffed one that I had was wearing the Intercontinental Championship. So this is like 89 or 90, something like that. And I know you're a couple years.
91, I was bored. Okay.
But this thing, it wasn't huge, but it was bigger than like an action figure, but it was maybe 1.5 or 2 feet tall. And I knew at some point I had seen that, like in the same way we reboot movie franchises and things like that, they were rebooting some of these wrestling. But I knew I had seen a John Cena one, and I wanted to get this for my nephew. I'm looking around and I can't find it, and I can't find it. And suddenly I find it on this American website, and it will ship to Canada, but it's at this like ungodly shipping rate. I'm like, I don't know if this is worthwhile. It's sort of a gag gift. Will he really care? And then Bunda, it happens right beside the John Cena modern wrestling buddy. They still have the Bret Hart wrestling buddy. Now we're into Matt's world. Matt loves Bret Hart. That was my favorite as a kid. And now it's worth the shipping cost if we're ordering 2, if we're getting John Cena for him and Bret Hart for me. So yeah, I got this little guy's birthday coming up, and I think we're both going to be really excited. I got to teach him how to apply the sharpshooter. Right, he's 7. It's time to learn that. Right?
Is Bret Hart in WWF No Mercy?
He's not. He would be in WCW Revenge, though.
Okay, I was going to say, because WWF No Mercy, I think, like I said earlier, one of the best
it was
games.
incredible, man.
Yeah, except for the weird angle where they have the storyline where you win the heavyweight championship and then you got to fight Andre the Giant from the dead. It's like, I didn't
That is a little off.
Yeah, it's a little odd. It's like, oh my God, it's the Andre Giant.
Boss, yeah.
And it's like, what?
Yeah.
Why him? Like in the 90s, there's a lot of big 90s wrestlers. But it was pretty funny, but such a cool game and such a... man, it's such a classic. So many good ones, but I'm glad he's going to be able to connect. You might have to.
Listen, man.
WCW, I think it's Backstage.
Backstage Mayhem or something like that.
Yeah,
was it for PlayStation?
No, it's another 64 game, Backstage Assault or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was another game.
That was a wrestling game where there was no wrestling ring. Like you could only wrestle backstage.
Yeah, literally.
It's like Street Fighter, but with wrestling.
And the only people that were good were like Hogan, Nash, Hall, like anybody in the NWO was really the best.
Yep.
So you had to just make sure you were one of those guys. But if you can get him to get Bret Hart,
this is it,
are you going to let him be Bret Hart, or are you going to be Bret Hart?
I'm
make
Bret
him,
Hart.
Yeah.
No, he can't be trusted.
Maybe you can go with Booker T then.
Look, man, we will get to the Leaf thing. We're going to put that off. You good TCA listener, I know some of you have enjoyed hearing me melt down. Some of you have actually been reasonably complimentary about me holding it together. I'm not sure how both of those things can be true at the same time, but I appreciate you either way. We'll get to the Leafs thing here in a bit, because you and I texted through basically this entire playoff run, and we both had some moments where we were a little fed up with how this had played out.
Oh, yeah.
We'll get to that. How is the third is a charm treating you over there?
Oh, it is tasty. It's smooth. Yeah, it's I like the IPA when you can have a lot of flavor in it, and this thing has a lot of flavor.
Yeah.
I'm feeling it. And I'm happy to know that there's a brewery in that spot, because when I go back down to Perth, I definitely need to grab a couple of these, because I've always loved that spot. Such a cool spot, kind of hidden on a back street.
Yeah,
Perth.
it was a bit of a jaunt to find it
by the Legion, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
But like we had stopped there at the LCBO and the grocery store heading back into town, and it's like, well, why don't we go find this place? And even the GPS is like, You know how it normally is like turn right onto John Street and left onto James Street. It's like make a quick right and immediate left. And like it's not telling you actual street names and things like that. You're like, all right, well, we'll figure this out. But the beer is worthwhile. This, as a cream ale, is about what I would expect out of a cream ale. It's a perfectly good cream ale. It's just not my style. That's all. But there's nothing here that I'm not. There's nothing here that's turning me off or pushing me away. There's nothing bad about it. So you just know going in that this may not necessarily be my style. Look, we talked here in the green room, such as it is at this point, before we fired up the microphones, about the NFL and the idea of banning the tush push. And this has been a thing for a couple of months now, dating back into the season. The teams were complaining about it, saying it wasn't fair. And really, the basis for it was that one team was really good at it, and no one had really become particularly successful at stopping them or figuring out how to do it themselves. And so the idea of banning it, to me, always felt an awful lot like just whiny bullshit, right? Like instead of learning how to defend it, we're just going to be, no, you can't do that. Which is something my 7-year-old nephew also says in games that he's losing. But that's how this read to me, man.
Yeah, wait till you hit him over the head with a garbage can and backstage assault.
When we look at this now, and you said just as you arrived, they had decided it's not going to be banned.
It is not. The decision came down, even though this morning there were reports it likely is going to be.
And reputable ones, like from The Athletic, saying everything we are hearing is that this will be banned today, coming from both the NFL's competition committee and their player safety committee. This will be banned, which requires 24 of 32 team votes. And they were pretty confident it was going to happen. And after a presentation from the owner of the Eagles, and I believe Jason Kelsey was also involved in why this is effective, why it's safe, trying to go against the player safety aspect of it. At the end of the day, it will live on. Are you A, surprised, or B, are you good with that?
I'm surprised because, like you, I saw a lot of reputable sources kind of saying that it looks like it's going to get banned, which kind of surprised me because about a month or two ago when they were doing this, they're kind of like, let's take it away. It doesn't look like it's going to get banned. Let's get some better language in the proposal here and see if we can make a better argument for it. So it's that, it sounds like they're not happy with the way they're presenting it, but there's a chance it could get banned because why would And
I guess for people who aren't familiar, we should, if you're not an NFL fan, essentially two guys get behind your quarterback and just shove him through the traffic.
It's a quarterback sneak with a little bit of help, right?
Yeah, and you kind of get pushed up over the mess or
and it's
through
the tush
mess.
Push. People are saying it's brotherly shove because they want to make it a little bit more
Philly.
Appropriate. It's the tush push.
I kind of like both names, to be honest with you. I'm fine with both. But I do understand the idea of why you might be scared that you're putting quarterbacks at risk, right? When two big guys just try and shove him through a wall of humanity. And yet there's no evidence so far to suggest that it is dangerous. No one has gotten really terribly hurt by it or whatever. So the player safety aspect always felt a little disingenuous as just another way to sneak through a ban for no reason.
Well, and that's what they did. They brought in specialists that talked about how the potential risks in the future, and it's too soon to be able to analyze and put together data that it would be an injury, an injury kind of prone play, or it's going to lead to more injuries. There was nothing really supporting it. So it turns into, like you said, kind of more complaining and worried about it than it really needs to be. So I'm happy it's not banned. I'm a little surprised just because when I saw that this morning, I'm like, okay. And then as I was driving here, I got the notification.
Right.
It is not banned. And my favorite part about this part is it's a vote, right? You need 24 of votes by the owners to be able to overturn it. And, well, it finished 22-10.
Okay.
So it was close.
It was close.
They were too short. Well, the Eagles and the Packers played in Wild Card Weekend this year. The team that's been lobbying the most against the tush push,
it's the Packers who put that motion forward altogether.
Well, do you know what the score of Wild Card Weekend, Eagles versus the Packers was?
Was it 22-10?
It was 22-10. And then on the Eagles social media site, they posted push on with a picture of Jalen Hurts right behind center and the Packers players looking right at him. which I love that. That's
Sure,
amazing. Look, this is a play where I get both sides of the argument, but I hate the argument of people saying, well, look, it's a rugby play and defensive players can't do what the quarterback is able to do. Or sorry, the players are on the other side of the ball, right? You're allowed, like you said, they have usually a fullback and a running back behind the quarterback. He takes a sneak and they kind of push them through.
Right.
They all kind of go together. Well, linebackers can't push defensive linemen. That's not allowed.
Yeah.
That's a penalty in the NFL, but it's not the other way. So I see that aspect of it kind of being a little bullshit, right? To the defense.
Sure.
It's like, how are we supposed to stop this, right? It is frustrating.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm a Bucks fan. The Bucks have had success stopping it. They, not always, but they've had more stops than any other team in the NFL on tush push plays. So I look at this as, well, how do they do it? Well, they got a big dog in the middle, Vita Vea. He's a big man. They went out and they signed an undrafted free agent, Desmond Watson. You want to know what this guy's numbers are?
Sure.
Yeah, well, he's 6'6", 460 pounds.
You're essentially our designated tush push stopper.
Yes. And so, and people are making the jokes about that because he was at Florida, Desmond Watson, and he's huge. And like I said, 6'6", 460. Bucks Vita Vea is 350.
He would have been the next boss after Andre the Giant in
Dude, this guy is more than he's two bosses, man. This guy's serious. But he's in the middle of losing weight now. But the Bucks, when they signed him, just about every football person everybody knew this guy was not going to get drafted. His weight is a huge issue. Nobody's going to let him play on the field at 400 plus pounds unless it's like right at 400 pounds. There's a chance, but I doubt it. But everyone's posting pictures of this defensive lineman and they're saying the tush push stopper. It's like, first off, I don't think this guy's going to make the roster this year. So I have a feeling by next year, after one more year of teams collecting data, whether it's injury wise or not, and also being so successful on it. Because look, like you said, this is a team where the Eagles are the best at it.
Yeah.
The Bills sucked at it. It lost in the damn AFC Championship game, right? They weren't able to convert. And there's a couple other teams that do it, and they're just not as good at it. So for me, I don't want to ban a play just because teams aren't good at it.
This is it.
You want to bring me injury numbers? Bring me injury numbers and real stats that say this isn't it. Otherwise, stop the play. I don't understand. I kind of ride the fence on this because, again, I don't think it's fair that defenders aren't able to push and help out on their side of the ball too. It's not the same thing, but
I don't know what the comparison is. Like,
it's tough.
well, is there one team in the NHL who has one whiz kid come in who's great at the Michigan?
The Oilers. It's damn Connor McDavid.
Well, sure. But we look at the Michigan.
Yeah.
And they're scoring a goal every few games off the Michigan, and no one else has gotten anywhere close to being that good at it. And instead of just figuring out how to stop it and getting
Granlund, right? I think Granlund was a couple of them.
He's got a couple.
Yeah.
There's that crazy play from a couple years ago. Trevor Zegras, the one that got lobbed over the net.
Yeah, Zegras has had a couple. I think, yeah.
And so instead of just being like, we need to train our goalies how to stop it, we're just going to go, no, can't do that. And it comes off really weak. And it's all because you aren't as good at it as the people doing it. If you're not breaking any rules and you're not, then, figure it out. Because like you said, there are other teams trying it, the tush push, and they just haven't gotten as good at it yet. And instead of getting as good, you're just like, nah, it's just easier to tell them not to do it anymore.
No, and that's where, like I said, you give it another year of owners and teams losing to this play, and they're going to complain more. I have a feeling by next year it's going to be banned.
We'll be doing this all over again, this conversation.
But actually, I think it's going to be banned next year because, and a lot of people compare it to, it's not a football play, it's more of a rugby play.
Yeah.
And you know what? If it was a rugby play, I don't again. It's the rules are the rules, and if there's nothing against what they're doing in the rule book, then use it to your advantage. If you're not, they always say if you're not cheating, you're not trying. This isn't really cheating. You're just getting away with it because it's in the rule book and you're good at it. And other teams aren't yet. And I assume that more teams are going to be trying to get better at it and working towards being an unbeaten team, kind of like the Eagles are. But again, the Eagles have been stopped. It's not like it's 100% play.
No.
But it works very often for them. And again, if you're worried about data for injuries, bring it and let's see it, and then I'll listen to it.
This is it. You're going to have to show that evidence first, right?
Look, if I'm on the competition committee or an ownership, I'm voting against banning it.
Yeah.
Personally, I just think it's too bad.
Yeah.
Unless you can show me, look, ACLs, concussions, shoulders, arms, fingers, whatever you want, Sure. But I need to see that first, and I haven't seen it yet. So for me, I'm happy that it's not banned. Packers fans, I'm sorry. You whine about something else. You want some cheese with your wine? Hey, they got lots in Green Bay, baby. But listen, it's I'm happy that it's not banned. But like I said, I think at this time next year, it will be.
This side of the border, training camps obviously well underway in the CFL. Look, we saw Nick Mardner go down, out for the year. That's a tough blow for the Red Blacks here locally. But across CFL training camps thus far, or whether you maybe prefer to just narrow in on Ottawa, has anything caught your attention? Big news, whether somebody has looked better than you expected, an injury, or just sort of what you expect out of the East Division this year in the CFL, man.
I'm excited. The one thing I'm not happy about right now is training camp being in Kingston.
Yeah.
And I've got a full-time job in Ottawa, so it's been hard for me to get down there. I've yet to make it down to watch a full camp or a full practice just yet, but I'm just excited to see this team, and I want to see Drew Brown year 2. I want to see Tommy Condell and his offense year 2. Will Stanback. I want to see what he can add to this offense. I want to see.
You optimistic? Like, you think he's got much left in the tank?
Absolutely, I think he does. I think injuries are
that's
always
a huge signing. Like, if he can go, that's a major move.
Well, listen, Geno Lewis, right? They brought in a big receiver to help out this receiving squad. I think that Khalil Pimpleton was brought back and signed to an extension. Khalil the Thrill, like he's exciting, man. This guy was so much fun to watch. There's so many aspects to this team. The defense, like the defensive line, is like fully back. Like I like that they've revamped the secondary because last couple of years the secondary hasn't lived up to expectations. So I'm excited in general. I think last year I had this team being a floor 10-win team, and of course they had the tie in there, so that pissed me off a bit.
Sure.
But I think that once again this can be a 10 to 11 win team. Again, the division is going to be, I think, up for grabs. I think Toronto has lost a lot of guys. And I think that Montreal is there. Injuries are always a big factor, but Montreal is going to be there. Hamilton, I still don't have a read on. So I'm kind of looking around and I'm thinking, once again, this division is there for Ottawa to take. I think they have one of the better rosters. I think the addition of Rick Campbell as a special teams coach, that is very cool to see him back here, kind of reverse roles with Bob Dice. But Bob Dice is a great coach, and the players love him. And between seeing him in the locker room after games with his players, talking to him, whether it's at halftime doing one of my hits with TSN, or just talking to him about life. He's a great dude. He's a great guy, and the guys love him, and I love that aspect of it.
It's such an interesting dynamic because not everybody would go out and hire a former head coach and a former pretty successful head coach onto your staff, knowing that, like, if things don't get off to a good start for Ottawa this year, I am hearing you. I hear all the same things that people love Dice. If it doesn't go well in the first third of the season, there's a chance he's gone and his replacement is now already on your staff, right? Like you went out and hired your own potential Now, no one wants to see it go that way, but that's a ballsy move. And it speaks well of Dice that he was willing to do that. This is what our team needs. This would be a good ad for our staff. But man, you did bring in your potential replacement.
Yeah, but I don't think anyone ever looks at it that way, right? I think Bob Dice realizes
I'm looking at it that way.
Yeah, but I mean,
Skeptic
for me,
douche.
I was going to say the skepticism is there. You can leave the douche part out. I'm all right with that. But I look at this as Bob Dice is a great head coach, right? And this is a guy that he's gotten better as a head coach each season as it's gone on. I think he realizes the team he has. But what does he need? He wants another veteran coach that he could bounce ideas off of, help and be, a special teams coordinator. If you hire, and obviously there's a friendship there between Bob Dice and Rick Campbell.
Clearly.
And Rick Campbell isn't coming in thinking, I'm only taking this job so I can potentially take Bob Dice. And Bob Dice isn't afraid to hire Rick Campbell because he knows I could use this guy as a veteran coach on my squad that knows a lot of these guys. Well, Nigel Romick, I think, would be one of the main guys he would know because of being an OG Red Black. But Nigel Romick is also going to start, I think, on the 6th game right now after he suffered an injury the other day. But I look at it, it's such a smart move for Bob Dice because you surround pieces. If anything, if this team has a lot of success and the special teams are great, Rick Campbell's probably going to get a head coaching job somewhere else next year. If it's not all. But again, I don't look at it as this, like the way Bob Dice, man, I've talked to him so many times after practices, after games. it's always about the next one.
Sure.
He doesn't want to look back ever. And
Yep.
I don't think he ever looks into the season being like, I'm worried that Rick Campbell's on my squad. He's worried about, all right, I got a damn good football team. I'm going to insulate them with great guys like Tommy Condell. What a great coordinator. He's such a good communicator. He runs a great offense. I think he is so good. I think that the way that they can set this team up, I think it is perfect. And I think Rick Campbell is, you go back to the successful years of the Red Blacks, and it was about, the family and such a great feel. And
right.
It kind of feels like since he's been gone, it's slowly coming back, but it took a few years to get that identity back. Mm-hmm. Bring in the right guys in to surround, the locker room, the right good guys, the right people to bring it in. Drew Brown, so far, man, gamer, competitive guy.
Yeah.
You know what? Injuries kind of really sucked last year for him because I felt like it always just kind of ruined a bit of his momentum as the season went on. And you get it. Injuries are part of the game, but it's tough to have success when you're injured, right? Yep. And that's the way it is. So I look at this team as there's untapped potential. Drew Brown, the receivers, the running back room, the offensive line I think is going to get better. The defense I'm not really worried about because they already have, I think, the best front seven in the CFL between their defensive line and linebackers. They're just awesome.
Yeah.
So
were you surprised to see Dante Bull taking a step back? They called it retirement. There's a chance he comes back next year. Obviously, that's a disappointment, man. That was a first overall pick, right? That's a tough go.
And that's where drafting is such a big deal,
yeah.
right? And that's a tough spot. He clearly was never the same after his broken leg at Fresno State. And disappointment. Yeah, obviously it's always disappointing when a first overall pick doesn't pan out and doesn't work out. It's it kind of sets you back, right? That's
sure.
The Red Blacks have always made a thing of drafting offensive linemen with usually their first round picks, right? Canadians are how you live by, and their motto back in the day, and kind of still always is draft those Canadian offensive linemen, and that's a good spot to put them. And it's tough when they don't pan out. And for Dante, you just want him to get healthy. It feels like he struggled to be 100% healthy ever since that. Not that he was rushed back. It just feels like he was never quite there. And
never got his footing again.
And whether he's just, I don't know if there's something with the coaching staff or with him as a player or whatnot. It just feels like he's always fallen out of favor in that right tackle position where he's either not healthy or he's not getting it or, plays just aren't happening for him. So it's unfortunate to see it not work out. He's always been a great guy. Every time I've talked to him, seen him, very nice dude. It's a business, and that's the unfortunate part for so many of these football players is,
and the money you're making in the CFL, he's got to go do something else this year to support his living while he gets himself right and gets himself healthy. And I don't think anyone's ruled out that he returns to the league next year, but for this year, it's a disappointment for Ottawa that he's not going to be a part of it. One thing that has not been a disappointment, Bunda, I don't know how much of it you would have had a chance to catch on Tuesday night. It was game 1 of the Walter Cup final.
Oh, yes. I saw this now.
This was insane, man. This was so good. You're looking at the Ottawa Charge, life and death just to make it in. It's an overtime goal.
Came down to that
final
weekend.
regular season game, man. And all of a sudden you're playing for a championship against Minnesota. Look, we had our friend Michaela Schreider on the show on Monday, to tee up the series. But after one game, Ottawa holds the lead. Rebecca Leslie has gone from bottom 6, kind of grinded out, useful player to someone who is now routinely scoring clutch goals for you. Yeah. Emily Clark gets the overtime winner. TD Place was electric on Tuesday night. Man, this has been fun, right? And this, for Ottawa hockey fans, look, I know in markets like this, the NHL tends to overshadow everything, but in general, you saw the Sens take this big step forward this year that everybody's waiting for them to do. They do it. They play meaningful games down the stretch, and not only do they do that, they make it into the playoffs. They do that comfortably. They push the division winner to 6 games. They don't look outclassed at any point doing it, right? Several games go to overtime. So that's a cool story for Ottawa hockey fans. And then at the same time that's happening, the Charge are making the playoffs, pushing through Montreal. Those stars, right? Laura Stacey, Marie-Philippe Poulin, Aaron Ambrose, Anne-Renee Desbiens. That's a tough team to get by. And all of a sudden, you are in a championship round. You are up 1-0 against the defending champs in Minnesota. It's been really fun, man. I know you have to pick your spots when you're able to stay up because your day starts at a time of day that I like to pretend doesn't even exist. But what have you thought of the Charge and the playoff run they're on?
Well, and unfortunately, we've seen a lot for, you know what, I guess it's playoff hockey in general.
Yeah.
It usually goes to overtime.
It does.
So that's what pisses me off the
I'm
most.
just praying against it every
Yeah,
night.
and
Please,
no.
no.
I'd love to say, oh yeah, like we'll see the Ottawa Charge go to 4 overtimes. Oh wait, that's already happened
Yes.
this damn playoff
Thank
series.
God that was a 2 p.m. start. Yeah.
Yeah, right? That went to like 8 o'clock. It
Yes,
was crazy.
it did. The Leafs game had started by the time. Yeah.
Nuts. It was nuts.
Yeah.
No, I watched the first 2 periods last night. It was nice I kind of dozed off right at the second intermission. But I got to see the first and second periods, and that second period was absolutely electric for the Charge too. Like, loved it. You brought up the Rebecca Leslie. What a goal.
Yeah.
Just kind of curl, drag, and snipe
Honestly.
one. But then there was 2 or 3 chances immediately after that goal. Like, they were buzzing after that goal.
Yep.
They were feeling it. They were buzzing. There was a few other scoring chances. I love that. And I just love the excitement. Like, I live in the Glebe and seeing people. Like, I wish, Electric Avenue, I wish was like, I love the song.
You got to rock down too.
Yeah, I would have loved that rather than Charge Avenue. But again, it's still cool. It's such a great time. Seeing the fans loving it. It's exciting. I'm down for it. And I've been trying to, get a little bit more excited each game I do. And unfortunately, I just, like you said, I got to get up a little past 3 in the morning, and that's not ideal.
Well, thank God Emily Clark had some mercy and ended it early, right?
I know. I missed the tying goal and Emily Clark's game-winning goal. But when I woke up and I saw the score, I thought, shit, that's pretty cool. Like, these guys are now, defending champs. And like you said, they beat, Montreal. Which Montreal, hey, who do you want to play? Yeah, you know what? Ottawa's close for travel.
Yeah.
And, they barely got in. So we're going to take Ottawa. We're good.
chose us.
Yeah.
You chose us.
And I love that. The fans, I love the players at the end of the game, right? Doing the big clap and with the fans. Like, it's fun to see that environment and to see that in early on in the success, right? And Rebecca Leslie too. Great to see that, because I think she's even worked for OSEG in the past. Like, I
believe that's right.
It's full circle. Her scoring playoff goals, playoff building, TD Place. I love that they have home ice.
Yeah.
Friday night is going to be. Is it Friday or is it Thursday?
I think Thursday.
Yeah, sorry, it's Thursday night. That's the next game at TD Place. But I love that. Also love that it's a 7 o'clock start, because that means Steve Bunda can get a little bit more of the games in. And like I said, I managed to go to bed around the second period. But again, if tomorrow night's game, you know what? It's Friday. I'll get away with it. I'll stay
Mail
up
it
and
in
watch
Friday.
that. Well, I won't mail it in. I'll still do a good job. But Fridays, yes, I can usually get by with it. But I'm excited to see how they can do this, and if they can get a sweep and get the brooms out, that'd be sick. But I'm just happy for the success.
That's the bummer about having home ice, right? It's a best 3 of 5. So if you were to happen to win both 2 at home, games 1 and 2. You don't want to cheer for a game 5, right? You want them to end it and not dick around, and yet at the same time, you're like,
you want them to celebrate
at home.
Well, and I was in the newsroom this morning, and our pal, and I think he's been on the show a few times, Chris Olsky, a noted fan. He was actually caught on camera celebrating in one of the last games against Montreal on TV by TSN. But he brought that up. He's like, I low key want them to go to 5 so they can win on home ice, and I can go to that game. I want to be there for something like that, and it's true. A lot of people just want to be there to, accept and be a part of their success. It's
there's a couple of outlets that cover women's hockey very well, like the Ice Garden, who have been talking about, for whatever reason, PWHL playoff attendance being down from the regular season. This is for the second year in a row. And there's some things that go into that for Minnesota and for Toronto in round 1. They twice got lined up at the same time that their NHL counterpart was also playing. So that's a tough go. But Ottawa has been immune to that. Ottawa is not only maintaining their attendance, they are set in round 1. They set a new. Right, I don't know where they keep finding like new chairs, like where you shove 10 or 12 new people in there. But Ottawa has been bucking the trend and has remained like immune to that. Whatever is happening that is creating a problem for the PWHL to maintain their attendance in some of these markets, and some of it is just the way it's scheduled. Right, you take 2 weeks off. 2.5 weeks off for World Championships right before your playoffs. That's tough. It kind of kills your momentum. They're going to have some conversations about that. But either way, Ottawa has not been impacted by that at all. They are showing up. They are showing out. They are loving their team. The vibe at TD Place continues to be incredible.
Yeah.
And they're up 1-0 now in a championship series. Man.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure they got our guy Brendan Mackey, noted Bucks fan and Mike Evans lover. So I got his back, but he's in there, I think, making chairs every time. He's building one chair at a time, and that's what they're doing.
Then just to cram one more person in, he's doing like the chicken fight thing. He's picking someone up on his shoulder. So they watch. It's
one more person, so they could just get those attendance numbers up. But no, again, it's exciting to see that. I love that, and can only hope that the success continues. I don't want to see, what I brought up on the Bill Carroll show this morning, but when I hear the Minnesota Frost, all I think of is number 7 Gary Roberts, right? Andy Frost, the legendary
Leaf voice of the Leafs. Leafs talk late night. You and I were talking about waking up, having fallen asleep to a podcast and waking up to a whole other one. And like, where's
this one?
Where's this voice coming from? Yeah, that used to be me. I'd fall asleep listening to Leafs talk on Talk 640 in Toronto.
Yeah,
and it would be Andy Frost just taking calls from the craziest motherfuckers that you can imagine. So,
so normal Leaf fans,
right? What if we were to trade Nick Antropov in a 5th for Rob Blake, and Andy'd be like, "Yeah."
That's not
we can take a look at it, but I don't think that's going to work. And then I would fall asleep to that and wake up to like Art Bell, like the overnight crazy ass aliens and conspiracies and this and that, man. So, So this is fun. Great story watching the Charge get this far. My hockey fandom is in a weird place right now, Bunda. The Leafs have gone down. My Jennies went down to the London Knights in the OHL final. But the Charge are pushing through. So this is my last chance at a championship.
You still got the J. Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
We won't complain about the Jays today.
I'm not sure how bad you're going to want to talk Red Sox anyway. So
you know what? I'm pretty okay because the fact that their problems have been the same for the last few years. It's like very similar to another team we're probably going to talk about.
That's right. But you know what, man? This happens basically every time you and I get together for a pint and to talk some sports. We are basically out of time for today. You good to come back for another one tomorrow?
You know what, Maddie, for you, I will. And because we have to get to the Leafs, I definitely
There
will.
is a lot of NHL to cover, a lot of Toronto, sulking, venting, raging. We will see what that looks like on tomorrow's show. Appreciate you being willing to do this twice in a row, Bunda.
Provide the beer and we're good.
I can make that happen. Although I think tomorrow I'm having a beer that you brought me. So we'll see.
Go.
We'll see how this is all going to shake loose. But we'll talk NHL on tomorrow's show. In case you missed it, on Tuesday afternoon, our buddy Steve McLean from All 60, a CHL podcast, was on this podcast. Friday is the beginning of the Memorial Cup. Those goddamn London Knights, who did eliminate my Oshawa Generals, will face the Medicine Hat Tigers, the Moncton Wildcats, and the Rimouski Oceanic in the 2025 Memorial Cup. In Rimouski, had a great conversation with Steve McLean on the show. So go back and check that one out. It is the one, right before this one at tallcanaudio.com or on your podcast feed. For Steve Bunda, my name is Matt Robinson. We will be back with more Bunda tomorrow. We will get to the Leafs of it all. And we'll see you then.
The hell is that?
Number one bullshit. Oh, number one bullshit.
Why are you so pissy?